Hey guys. Oops. Oops. Hey guys. Sorry I haven't updated in a while. It's been kind of hard to upload any videos staying with my mom for now. The internet connection is just so slow. It takes forever to upload. So it's Wednesday, a week and a day since I've given birth, and so I'll be uploading this Friday when I go to my dad's house because his internet connection's faster. So I'm gonna do my labor and delivery story, and then I'll do the postpartum video here in a few minutes. I I went into I started going into labor on the Friday, um, the Friday before the 13th, and yeah, uh, I went in. I called my cousin. It was in the morning. I was contracting and everything, and she drove all the way from Chicago, and there was a lot of people there. You know, I just couldn't believe it. They came from the waiting room, or they waited in the waiting room, and just having so many people there, and knowing I could be sent home, was kind of frustrating. Um, it was frustrating anyway, just to have that many people there in the first place. You know, I'm glad everybody had their love and support and everything, but just to have that many people there, it was just ridiculous. So I go in, and they checked me, and I was a centimeter dilated, and they kept me there for 8 hours just to tell me that it wasn't active labor. And you know, usually you can tell right away, but 8 hours, oh my goodness. So my cousin ended up staying the night, and she went home on a Saturday, and I was like, you just watch, I'll go into labor as soon as you know, get to Chicago. I'm like, all right. So I go home, and uh, I was, I couldn't sleep. I was up throughout the night and everything, and that's how I had been since I started labor. I just couldn't sleep, and so I was up and down, and she left Saturday, and Sunday morning, around 3 a.m. I started getting real bad contractions. Not too bad, but bad enough. I'm like, I've got to be going into labor. So I waited an hour or two and counted the time and everything. I'm like, yeah, I need to go to the hospital. So I woke up my mom, and I'm like, I think it's time to go. We get there around 6 a.m. They hook the monitors up, and they check me. I'm still only a centimeter dilated, but the pain was bad enough. They gave me Demerol. Oh, and I was throwing up from the pain. So they gave me Demerol. It didn't work. The only thing it did was get me high. And, I mean, great drug and all, but it didn't work. So the pain was bad enough, and they're like, all right, well, we'll move you to a room with a tub. And so I got into the room. They set me all up. I get in the tub, and it was great. It had jets and everything. I'm like, oh, this is relieving the pain. And they gave me muscle relaxers, too. And then they gave me Nubane, which is a stronger drug than Demerol, I'm assuming, because it started helping. And I was in the tub for hours at a time. You know, I'd go in the tub, then I'd go lay down, go in the tub, go lay down. I was in pain. And there was one point where I was in the tub, and the jets weren't on, and I saw these bubbles, and I felt pressure. I'm like, huh, I think my water broke. And so I told the nurses, I think my water broke, and they would not check. I'm like, whatever. And so I was in the hospital from 6 a.m. Sunday to 5:30 p.m. Monday. They checked me again. I was at 2 centimeters dilated, and they were like, it's still not active labor. But what we'll do is, because this hospital will not induce you until you're at least 39 weeks pregnant, which I found very frustrating. But whatever, because it was only a few hours away till I was 39 weeks pregnant. And they're like, but we're going to send you home with some muscle relaxers, and what you can do is call Tuesday morning, which would be the next day, and see if we have any availability, and we'll induce you if we do. And I was just thinking, man, I'm in pain. They won't check to see if my water broke, and if it had broke, they would have kept me, but they didn't check. And so I'm just making sure this is going okay. And so I go home, and I decided I'm going to take the muscle relaxers around 7:30, 8 o'clock, so I can try and at least get some sleep. 6 a.m. is just around the corner. And so I called my cousin in Chicago. I'm like, all right, they're probably going to induce me tomorrow if they have availability. I'll call you as soon as, I let them know. And my sister-in-law, she lives like a half hour away from me, so she was going to be there too. And I called her and let her know. Well, come around 9 p.m., the contractions got so unbearable. Oh my God, so bad. And I'm like, this is real labor. They're making me wait. And I couldn't sleep. Could not sleep. There was no possible way. The pain was so bad, I couldn't breathe, I couldn't walk, I couldn't talk. It was paralyzing, and the contractions were so close together. And all I could do is scream. My poor sister and mom, they're trying to sleep because they have work and school the next day. And my mom, she's like, it's okay, it'll be over tomorrow. You'll have the baby tomorrow. And all I kept thinking was, yeah, they're probably not going to have availability. And so they're probably not going to induce me. And then I'm thinking, you know what, this pain's so bad, I don't care if they have availability. I am going in, and they're going to take this baby. And so it was the longest few hours of my life. It felt like days. And so at 6 a.m. rolls around. After all this pain, I couldn't eat or nothing. I called them and I asked them if they had availability. And they're like, yes, we do. Come in at 7:30. And make sure you eat a small breakfast and blah, blah, blah. Alright, when you're in this kind of pain, you cannot eat. Are they nuts? So I didn't eat anything, and I called my sister-in-law, I called my cousin. My cousin starts heading out from Chicago, and my sister-in-law comes and gets me and takes me to the hospital. I could barely walk, but I'm trying to gain my composure and trying to breathe through it so I'm not scaring anybody as I'm going through. And, I got everything packed. And my sister-in-law didn't know how to get to the hospital. So here I am. I'm trying to give her directions, and I'm like, trying to, it was so horrible, the pain. And I'm like, oh my God, okay, you gotta take her right here. And she laughs and she's like, Candace, you're amazing. I'm like, why? She's like, because you're giving me directions while you're having contractions. I'm like, well, I need to get to the hospital. I have no choice. And so I could barely walk into the hospital, and she was going to get a wheelchair, but I'm like, no, I'm going to walk through it. So there was a midwife on duty at the time, and she's like, all right, this is what's going to happen. It was 7:30 when I got there, and she's like, we're going to check you and see if your cervix is softened and dropped, because the cervix did not drop the past few days. And let me tell you something, when they're checking your cervix to see if it's dilated and it hasn't dropped, and mine's over to the left a little bit, it hurt like hell when they checked it, the past couple days. And so I was not looking forward to that. She's like, so we're going to check your cervix and see if you've dilated it anymore, and if your cervix hasn't dropped or softened, we're going to have to take a pill and stick it up in you and see before we can give you any Pitocin. Well, she checked, and sure enough, my cervix had dropped, and I was dilated at 3, and at this point, I'm in so much pain. I'm like, you need to give me drugs, and I'm swearing and everything. I'm like, I need drugs, and so any woman who gives birth naturally without drugs, hats off to you. There's no way, and I can handle pain, okay? I have a high tolerance, but that, no. And so, and, what else? Okay, so they started me on Pitocin. Just gotta keep and make sure. I'm gonna have to do this in increments because they're only 10-minute videos on YouTube. So they start me on Pitocin at 9 a.m. And I would say around 10:30, 11, my cousin had shown up. And they gave me Nubain, and it didn't really do anything. I already had needles in me and everything, and the Pitocin, so I couldn't get in the bathtub, which really sucks because I really wanted in the bathtub. And, I'm holding on for dear life. If anybody would have held my hand, I'm sure I would have broke their fingers. It was so bad, and the contractions were so close together. And I have my cousin on one side and my sister-in-law on the other side, and they're rubbing my leg and everything, and they're like, just relax, breathe through it. I'm like, I've been trying to breathe, I can't breathe, and I'm swearing, and they're like, I guess they started to snicker, but they were trying to make it so I didn't see, and I didn't see them, but they're like, we just knew you'd be pissed off if you saw us laughing. Which, I mean, I could see how it'd be funny because they've never really seen me feeling like that. I'm like, alright, whatever. So I cannot tell you, I was so drugged up after this point. I can't, it's so hard to remember. Alright, I'm going to start another video here in a second. So this will be continued here in a minute because I don't want this to go over 10 minutes.